Straight ahead on 12 News, what's often called the invisible injury, how an art exhibit in Brooklyn Center aims to make something invisible visible. Plus, the latest on a case in Brooklyn Park involving a man accused of crashing his vehicle into his wife's car several times. But first, remembering a man described as a master legislator who left his mark on the northwest suburbs. 12 News starts right now. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. A longtime member of Congress who represented Crystal, Golden Valley, and Robbinsdale for nearly 3 decades has died.
Martin Sabo represented Minnesota's 5th Congressional District, where he was reelected a remarkable 13 times, serving from 1978 until his retirement in 2006. He passed away Sunday. Sabo was 78 years old. As Eric Nelson reports, Sabo leaves behind an enduring legacy.
Truly, he was a legend politically in the state of Minnesota.
Martin Sabo was a giant in St. Paul and in Washington.
I think his focus was like a laser on things you mentioned in conversation. He would repeat back to you in terms of, well, I know you needed this, and that always surprised me.
I appreciate his life and his civility and his leadership qualities that went way beyond partisanship.
Sabo was a career politician. He spent 28 years in D.C. as a Democratic congressman and another 18 years in St. Paul before that in the Minnesota legislature.
He did represent the suburbs as part of his district. It was primarily Minneapolis, but he had all the western suburbs, the Crystal, Robbinsdale, the inner ring, and he always spent a great deal of time worrying about and serving those folks too.
Sabo's hallmark was getting things done and fostering change in areas such as tax reform and transportation.
I think it's accurate to say the last time we had a balanced budget in Washington, D.C. was when Martin Sabo chaired the Budget Committee.
Those who knew Sabo say he was kind and low-key.
I think his legacy is really a quiet resolve.
But behind his stoic demeanor, Sabo was also a politician who accomplished plenty without bigfooting his opponents.
Donald Trump is anti-everything Martin Sabo was. I mean, Martin talked to the other side. They disagreed certainly on many occasions, but he would figure out a way to yes.
He did a great job for Minnesota, and I think I would be remiss if I didn't want to just simply say thank you, Martin.
Now, Representative Keith Ellison, who replaced Sabo in 2006, said that Sabo stood up for every Minnesotan, no matter their age, race, or economic standing. Ellison also called Sabo a man of substance who worked tirelessly to preserve Social Security, take care of our veterans, improve our public infrastructure, and pass budgets that were fair to working Americans. Alex and Mike.
All right, thanks, Eric. Sabo served in the Minnesota legislature during the 1970s as House Speaker.
Political experts say that's when state lawmakers passed some of the most important legislation still with us today.
Legislation that deals with public health, such as smoking, legislation that deals with education policy, that deals with what's called the fiscal disparities between rich and poor suburbs. And so in many ways, he was one of the architects of really making modern Minnesota.
Hamlin professor David Schultz said Sabo was also one of the key people involved with providing the funding for the first leg of the Hiawatha Light Rail line. Today, a bridge named in Sabo's honor crosses over Hiawatha Avenue in Minneapolis. Schultz says it's a fitting symbol for a man who served the state for so long, connecting 2 different eras of Minnesota politics.
He's a throwback to a different era. He never said anything ill of anybody, including Republicans, even though he was a Democrat. He was one of the era where he could work across aisles and work with people who disagreed with him and with whom he disagreed.
Schultz also said Sabo made his mark in Congress as budget chair during the Clinton administration, getting through a budget bill that erased the nation's budget deficit at that time.
A Minneapolis man is in jail after crashing into his wife's car with his vehicle and then leading Brooklyn Park police on a high-speed chase. The incident happened Saturday around 8:30 p.m. Police say a Brooklyn Park woman was driving near West Broadway and Brooklyn Boulevard when her husband started ramming the back of her car. The woman pulled into the Target parking lot where her husband continued to smash into her. The man eventually drove off. Police chased after him on eastbound 94 where the suspect lost control of his vehicle and flipped over.
It's a scary situation, obviously, when you have someone out there ramming another vehicle for whatever reason. It's very dangerous, not only to the person being rammed, but the entire public.
Fortunately, no one was hurt. The man is expected to be charged with second-degree assault and fleeing police.
The Hennepin County Medical Examiner says a Brooklyn Park man was killed when he struck several trees and a house following a chase in Richfield. He's identified as 30-year-old Travis Rainick. The crash happened 2 Sundays ago. Police tried several maneuvers to get him to stop before ending the pursuit on a Richfield city street. Rainick leaves behind 4 children.
2 Minneapolis teenagers are accused of shooting a man in Brooklyn Center over a pair of new Air Jordan shoes. The shooting happened on March 5th outside a Foot Locker store at Shingle Creek Crossing Shopping Center. According to authorities, one of the teens shot the man in the liver, kidney, and arm. The man, who has a permit to carry, fired back, hitting the shooter in the leg. The attorney's office plans to try both teens as adults for attempted murder. A 9-year-old boy is in the hospital after being hit by a minivan in Brooklyn Park. The accident happened shortly before 7 Monday morning at the intersection of 73rd Avenue and Regent. According to witnesses, the boy darted out in traffic while trying to catch a bus. The boy was unconscious but breathing. He was taken to the hospital. We don't know his condition. The driver was cited for driving without a license.
The Brooklyn Center City Council tonight will consider plans that could eventually improve safety along Highway 252. The stretch of 252 between 610 and Interstate 694 includes accident-prone intersections and daily backups. Plans under consideration call for building an interchange at 66th Avenue where there are now stoplights. The intersection at 70th Avenue would be closed and a pedestrian bridge would be built there. And another interchange would be built in combination with 73rd Avenue and Brookdale Drive. Embrace yourself for more road construction on Highway 100. The entire highway will be shut down between I-394 and the crosstown Highway 62. The closure is from 10 p.m. Tuesday to 5 a.m. Wednesday. And crews will be putting in beams for a pedestrian bridge south of Highway 7. Well, with the first official day of spring just around the corner, many people are thinking about sprucing up their homes.
In this week's Business Matters, a look at 2 new home decor-related businesses open in Plymouth and an update on a proposed luxury apartment complex in New Hope.
We get rid of all the white snow and people are excited. People want to move forward and change out their house, whether it's switching out pillows, changing a throw, maybe changing a piece of art. It's time. Spring is a perfect time.
David Bakken's new Plymouth lifestyle store, Abode & Co., is the kind of local independent shop where you can pick up a gift or get inspired with ideas for a room makeover.
Almost like a beachy, soft mixing of, whites and creams and grays, which are really the colors that are going on right now.
Bakken worked 17 years as an interior designer before opening this new fashion and home decor business, which also serves as a home for Bakken's interior design services.
So a client can pop in here, look around, find a color story that they like, maybe possibly start with a pillow or a textile, and then we can build off from that.
There's plenty of color in another new Plymouth business. Emser Tile is celebrating its grand opening just in time for the spring home building and remodeling season.
Customers come in, make their selections. We have samples available, so if somebody wants a 12 by 12 sample tile to take home, they can come here and get it. Swatches for our mosaics.
With its 25,000 square foot showroom and warehouse, this is Emser Tile's first Minnesota store. But the family-owned business, started by 5 brothers in Hollywood, California, is expanding into the Midwest.
The growth in Minnesota has just been fabulous. There's a lot of building going on, a lot of residential. Commercial is really big right now.
A new luxury apartment building with around 180 units could be moving into New Hope, pending City Council approval later this month. The city's Planning Commission recently recommended approval of the project proposed by Minneapolis developer Aladdis. If the City Council approves it, the new 4-story building would sit on the 3.5-acre site next to the New Hope Village Golf Course on Bass Lake Road. Coming up next, making an invisible injury visible through art.
And then later in sports, a royal achievement at the state boys basketball tournament.
But first, the rain-soaked Tuesday. Thunderstorms are possible Tuesday afternoon. We'll be right back. A Minnesota nonprofit is taking a different approach to telling the stories of brain injury survivors.
An art show in Brooklyn Center was created by people who want to unmask what it's like to live with what's often called the invisible injury.
Sindbad sustained his brain injury from being hit by a dump truck when he was 4 years old.
Sinbad is now in his 50s. He created a sort of self-portrait on a mask that explains what it's like to live with the effects of a brain injury for so many years.
What this is about is trying to put a visible identifier or understanding to what many times is an invisible injury.
The masks carry powerful stories of frustration and hope. One woman tells a story of suffering 5 brain injuries during her lifetime. And one man shows his frustration for rolling a pickup truck decades ago. It's a way to express emotions that they haven't been able to voice before.
The story tells what their personal truth is at this time. Sometimes it's historical, that, oh, I was an individual who was in a car accident. Sometimes it's, I can't feel things yet. The blue is for not being able to feel. So sometimes it's an emotional truth of the moment, but it's their inner truth.
The Minnesota Brain Injury Alliance put together a video on the making of the masks. The group hoped to get self-portraits from about 200 brain injury survivors. And they ended up getting more than 300, like this one from a police officer.
I'm a retired policeman, and I was assaulted while on duty one day, and a man attacked me with a steel table leg, and he broke a hole in the side of my head about the size of a silver dollar.
And they hope this display will be a step toward making something invisible visible.
We know concussions and brain injuries matter, and the people who live with them matter. And more every day, this is getting more and more understood.
The Minnesota Brain Injury Alliance says 100,000 Minnesotans live with disability because of a brain injury. Well, coming up on 12 News, a mad dash for pie.
But first in sports, Park Center's girls prepare for a tough challenge in the quarterfinals of the state tournament. John Jacobson has their story and more when we come back.
The state girls basketball tournament tips off Tuesday morning with a total of 6 games at Target Center. The Park Center Pirates are in the Class 4A tourney this year after winning the past 2 Class 3A titles. The Pirates worked out Monday afternoon in preparation for their Tuesday morning game. Park Center is 22-7, having defeated Champlin Park in the Section 5 championship. The Pirates were one of 3 unseeded teams for the state tournament and drew defending state champion number 1 seed Hopkins in the quarterfinals. Pirates lost to the Royals back in December and know this will be another big challenge.
I'm excited to play them. We got to beat them anyway to win a state championship, and we knew that going in. And I think first round, 10 a.m. tomorrow, we're excited to play them.
We can't really have a lot of turnovers. We can't lose pressure. Like, we have to keep on defense. We have to keep up the intensity. We can't have any turnovers. We have to make good passes and just settle down on offense.
Park Center and Hopkins tip off at 10 a.m. Tuesday at the Target Center. We'll have highlights Tuesday starting at 4 here on 12 News. Hopkins entered the state boys basketball tournament with 1 loss and seeded 2nd in Class 4A. The Royals advanced to the championship game to face Lakeville North. Watch the behind-the-back dribble. Amir Coffey gets free for the layup in an early 4-0 Royals lead. Carter Brooks drives for the big dunk, and the Panthers lead for much of the first half. Hopkins runs the sideline break, and Ishmael El-Amin nails a 3 to put Hopkins ahead. It's tied 23-all after a low-scoring first half. Second half, Xavier Johnson gets the steal. He'll drop it off to Coffey for the dunk here. Hopkins up 4, 29-25. Lakeville North's Calvin Persola buries a 3, and the Panthers have a 5-point lead with 9 minutes left. But Hopkins goes on a 15-0 run. Johnson steals it. He'll finish with a layup. The Royals take the lead for good. Benny Shaheed with a steal. He'll take it the distance for the hoop and foul. Royals hold off a late push by the Panthers, and Hopkins takes the championship with a 64-55 win. In the third place game in Class 4A, Osseo lost to Apple Valley 93-82. The Orioles' Alan Anderson was named to the all-tournament team. The state adapted floor hockey tournament is complete. A run of championships ended for one local team as the Robbinsdale-Hopkins Mound Robins PI Division team. They saw their string of 5 straight titles end in a semifinal loss to Dakota United. So the Robins faced off with Brainerd for third place. Brainerd's Matt Allard getting control and firing a shot home there for a 1-0 Warriors lead. Robins' Sean Johnson emerges with the puck here, and he'll bury a shot. Robins tied up 1-1, a hat trick for Johnson in this game. After a near miss on the first shot, Vincent Liu battles for possession of the puck and turns and scores the go-ahead goal for the Robins. They take third place with a 4-2 win. In the PI Championship, was Anoka-Hennepin facing Dakota United, down 3-0 in the third period, and Anoka-Hennepin rallies. Tyler Azell tucking the rebound away and gets the Mustangs on the board. Late in the game, Joey Mannion gets control, and he'll zip the long wrist shot in to pull Anoka-Hennepin within 3-2. But it's Dakota United celebrating at the end. They win it by a final of 3-2. In the CI division, the top 2 teams from the North Division advanced to the championship game. It was Anoka-Hennepin facing North Suburban for the title. Off the center court face-off, North Suburban's Austin Motzko passes to Josh Hammond. He'll sneak it in, and it's a 2-0 Cougars lead. After a battle behind the net, it'll come to Cole Denny. He'll whack the second try in. Anoka-Hennepin pulls within a goal at 2-1. Denny ends up with 5 goals in the game. Clearing attempt is picked off here by Anthony Bankston. He'll score in a long shot. North Suburban holds off an Anoka rally, and they win the championship 6-5. And that's a look at sports for today.
All right, thanks, John. We'll be right back.
Well, it is March 14th, and it's a day of celebration for both mathematicians and pie lovers.
In honor of National Pie Day, Whole Foods celebrated with a special sale where all pies are $3.14 off the original price of $9.99. On a normal day, bakers at the Maple Grove location say they would usually sell about 8 pies, but thanks to the discount on this 14th day of March, they expect to sell about 200 pies, with the bestseller being apple.
We have a lot of math geeks in the area. Everybody comes in and they get really excited about the fact that we're even like celebrating it. So we go all out. We've got pie displays around the whole store, floor art, signage, the whole 9 yards.
And for all the non-math types out there, pi is an infinite number, usually represented as 3.14, and is most commonly used to calculate the circumference of a circle. So
also
there you go.
Date.
That's right.
314. There you go.
That does it for us. Thanks for joining us.
We'll see you again tomorrow.